Hello everybody and welcome back to another Ahrefs Studios tutorial. Today I'm going to be working on creating an inventory system. Now inventory systems have always been rather scary for me. I don't really like them. They're just not my thing, right? But a while ago we started a devlog series and I never really finished it because I hit the inventory system side of things and I just got scared. I was just like, shoot. And then I started looking at assets on the asset store, but nothing there actually fit the criteria of what I wanted, right? Or things didn't work out the way I needed them to, and I just completely got lost, right? So today we're going to be building ourselves our very own inventory system. That way we can customize, modulate it, or modulate, whatever that word is. Basically just do what we need to be able to build it, right? So without further ado, let's get started. All right, so the first thing I want to do is I want to be able to create the user interface. This allows us to be able to visualize exactly what we're going to be building. So I'm going to call this the inventory window. This is just a simple panel that you have inside of your canvas. We want to select our canvas first off as well and just change the scale of screen size. Change this to about 1920 by 1080. Yeah, that should be fine. And then we're going to grab our inventory window. Now, obviously, we don't want our inventory window to be scaled all the way across the screen. That's just overrated, right? So let's go ahead and select this, put it on the right side of the screen, and we're going to change the X pivot to 1 because we want it to be on the right side. And we're going to then change the position of the X to a -25, reset the position or width and height of this object to be 0. And of course, we don't really care so much about what it's doing right now. Let's drop down the color value to black, maybe a little bit light just for the heck of it. But we're not going to be even really worried about that at the moment. All right, let's go ahead and just hide all those for now so we can actually see things. And we're going to add a fitter. This is going to be content size fitter. So we want to be able to scale this object based on the objects that are within it. And we're going to set this to preferred size. We're also going to add a grid layout group, which is going to have this little display down there pop up because, it has an object specifically saying so. And we're going to set the position to the left to 5, position to the right to 5, and position at the top and bottom to 10. Change the cell size to about 82, and then we're going to add spacing of 10 between each item, just like so. The next thing that we want to do is we want to add in an image, so UI image, and we're going to call this an inventory slot. Now this inventory slot is basically going to store the data inside of our inventory system. So for this, I'm going to give it a nice little image, so make it like that. And we're going to make sure that it is raycast targetable. This will allow us to be able to interact with this object whenever we add either a button on it or use the eye pointer interface. It really just depends. All right, so inside of this inventory slot, we need to make sure that we add another image. This is going to be an icon. We're going to make sure that this is not raycast targetable. For now, we're going to give it just this image just because we can. Hold down the Alt key, select this anchor point right here, and you're going to select the stretch to all sides. And then we're going to set the size to 10 smaller than the size of the parent, right? We're also going to add in another item beneath this as a child, and we're going to add it as a text, and we're going to call this the counter. You could use the old legacy system text. I'm using the TM Pro text. I'm going to go over to our scene view. And as you can see, I'm using the outline for this because it's just cool. And I'm going to also just bring this over, change the color, maybe drop this down to a point 0.2. Yeah, 0.2 looks good. We're going to set this to bold, and we want to change the text to like 64 because that's basically how much I want people to be able to collect, or the maximum that I want people to be able to collect. For the anchor point, we're going to hold down Alt and we're going to select the stretch on the bottom. We're going to put 10 on the left. We're going to say, put the position of the pivot to 0, and we're going to go, I think 10 or 0 on the bottom is fine, 10 on the right. with a max height of, let's say 48 should be the max height. Then we're going to set this to auto size. 48 might be actually too big. Let's go with 36. Yeah, 36 is fine. Making sure that it aligns on the right side or justifies to the right side. And I think actually the left and right need to expand to about 5 instead. We also want to make sure that this is set to the bottom. So it moves closer to the bottom right there. And I think that should be fine. All right, so if I go over to the game view, as you can see, we have that. Go over to your assets folder, create a folder. We're going to call this our RPG editor. And we're going to go inside here, create a folder, call it our prefabs, create a new folder, call it UI, go inside there and grab our inventory slot, drop it in there like so. So now if we duplicate this, as you can see, our inventory slot or inventory window will expand just like we need it to. Go ahead and erase all those, grab our inventory window and drop it inside here like so. Perfect. Okay, so now since we have the design set up for our user interface, let's go ahead and create some scripts. Now this is just the basic scripts. We're not going to get into the details on these scripts just yet. I want to be able to make these fast and quick tutorials. So, create a folder, call it inventory. Go inside there, create, no I don't want to show inside Explorer. We're going to create a folder, call it scripts, create a folder, and let's go ahead and call this folder UI. Now actually, since this is the inventory scripts, our inventory as is, we should just grab our prefabs for this and drop it inside there like so, yeah. So yeah, we're going to create a folder called UI. We're going to go inside there. We're going to create a C# script. We're going to call this inventory slot. And for this inventory slot, there's a couple things that we need to add to this slot. Number one, we're going to need to create a couple classes, I guess you could say. So let's go back over into Unity. Let it compile for a second. Go over to scripts again, and we're going to create a folder called classes. So classes. Inside here, we're going to create two classes. We're going to create an item class, and we're going to create an item data class. Okay, that's nice. So we're going to go ahead and recreate that. I don't know why it decided to do that, but whatever. Yeah. So the item data class is basically going to store data for us, right? So let's go ahead and drop that down. Yeah. So delete that one right there because we don't need it. And like I said, we're going to create an item data class. The item data class is going to be a container of sorts. So item data, like so. So for now, we're just going to leave the item the way it is, but later on, we're going to change it. So this is not going to be a script or a mono behavior. This is simply going to be a container itself. So this is going to contain an item. We're going to call it item. Then it's going to contain an int called stack, like so. That's all it's going to do. So we can erase everything else inside here. And we're also going to go with a system.serializable like so. So we can go ahead and close that out now. And then we're going to go over to our item script in and of itself. We're going to make this a scriptable object because scriptable objects are fun. And for now, what we're going to do is we're just going to give the item script. Let's just give it, make it a public class as well. No, scriptable object. So scriptable object like so. We create asset menu, menu name, RPG editor, / inventory, / new item, like so. And inside here, we're just going to do a public sprite and call it icon, like so. All right, so inside of our inventory slot, we're going to get a public item data, call it data, like so. And let's go ahead and create just the basic functions for updating the image. So we're going to do a public void on update slot display. This is going to take an item data, and we're going to call it desired data, like so. Now we also need to come up here and add in a couple things. And actually, we need to make this a private data, because this is just stored data. It's not necessarily displayed data. We need to add in some libraries here, so we're going to say using UnityEngine.ui and using TM Pro. Now I'm using TM Pro or TextMesh Pro for my text. If you're not using that, then you could just be using UnityEngine.ui. So we're going to get a public image. We're going to call this our icon. And we're going to get a public TM. All right, it's a TM text, TMP text, and we're going to call this our counter, like so. So inside here, all we're going to do is we're going to set, well, what we need. So we're going to say if desired data is equal to null, dot item is equal to null. Then we're going to do this. Else, we're going to do this. So let's come up here first. So we're going to say data is equal to desired data, right? So this just sets up our private variable and allows us to be able to update the slot information. Next, for the display, we're going to simply say icon dot, let's say sprite is equal to null. And then we're going to say icon dot color is equal to color dot clear. Right, so we're clearing out the color. Then we're going to go to our counter. Counter dot text is equal to null, like so. Otherwise, we're going to set what it looks like. So we're going to say that, and let's go ahead and just copy these two. So we're going to set the sprite is equal to our desired data dot item dot icon, and we're going to set the color to white. Then we need to do an if statement here. So we want to be able to say if our desired data, so desired data dot stack is greater than 1. If that's the case, then we're going to set our text equal to our desired data dot stack dot toString, like so. Otherwise, we're going to make it equal null. So we're going to say else it equals null. That way, if we have one item, it's not going to show anything. If it has more than one item, it's going to show something. And the last thing we're going to do for this individual script is we're going to create our inventory. Well, I can't say the last thing. There's a couple things I want to do as well. So we're going to come back here, and we're going to create another script for our UI, which is going to be building our inventory window. But what we also want to do is go over to our prefabs folder, go over to our inventory slot, and make sure that we add our inventory slot to it. So let's just hide those. Inventory slot. Make sure we assign the icon and assign the counter, like so. All right, so now since we have that, let's go back over to our UI class. We're going to create a C# script, and we're going to call this our dynamic inventory, and I cannot spell display, like so. So open that up, and we want to be able to add in some stuff. So we're going to do a public void on display. And let's create a boolean here called display. Then we're going to say display, or we're going to do switch on display. And let's set up our case. So we're going to say case true. And then we're going to do a case false. Like so. So for the case false, we're going to do that first because it's the easiest. We're going to do a for each loop in our transform. Call it our child in our transform. So basically, we're going to be getting all the children objects for this object that we have this script on. And all we're going to do is we're going to say destroy child dot game object, like so. All right, so now since we have that done, that's taken care of. But whenever we do display, we're going to do a for loop, and we need to be able to get a list of items, right? So actually, let's go ahead and just Control X that for now. And we're going to close that, and we need to be able to create our inventory script along with our inventory holder. Okay, so for our inventory script, let's go over here, and we're going to create a C# script, and we're going to call this our inventory, like so. Go ahead and open that up. And this is basically going to be a list of public data. So we're going to say public item data, make it a list, and we're going to say items, right? This is not a mono behavior, but we could make it into a scriptable object. For now, I'm not, but it is an option for you to do. I'll probably end up doing it eventually, but for now, we're just going to leave it like this. Since it's not a scriptable object, we're going to serialize it, like so. All right, so let's also create an inventory holder. Now, this inventory holder is going to be for like containers. So let's go back over to our scripts folder, and we're going to create a folder called containers. So scripts, let's go in here, create a folder called containers. And actually, this thing needs to be into the scripts folder. Yeah, there we go. Create a C# script, and we're going to call this an inventory holder. So containers are something like if we created a backpack for the player, or if we created a chest for the for a chest, right? This is going to hold our inventory. So public inventory, and we're going to call this, let's call it inventory, like so. Keep in mind that we technically want this to be a private variable because we don't want people to actually be able to mess with this, and then we could just serialize it. So actually, let's go ahead and do that. We'll just go like this and just serialize field. Yeah, that should be fine. Okay, so if we come back over here now, replug in our for loop, we want to be able to get a public inventory holder and call it inventory holder. And then we're going to simply get inventory holder dot, and actually, no, I just thought about this. We will have to put this as, well, we could create a get function for this too. But just for convenience sake, I'm going to just change it into a public variable. I would do a get function because it's a lot safer, but yeah, I'm just lazy. So let's just grab our inventory dot items, right? Dot length. There we go. So now since we have that, let's go ahead and then just grab this right here. Control V. Actually, no, we want to be able to build this. So yeah, we'll get that in a second. All right, so we want to be able to build the object, so we're going to create a inventory slot. We're going to call it slot, which is equal to instantiate. All right, yeah, instantiate, and we want to be able to create a prefab to instantiate. So let's go ahead and create a public inventory slot, and we're going to call this a prefab. And let's actually call this our slot prefab. So slot prefab, like so. So we're going to instantiate that, and we're going to set our transform as a parent and as our inventory slot. Then we're going to say slot dot update slot display. We're going to grab this right here, Control X, Control V, I, which will then get us the item data, and it will then build our slot like so. Okay, so whenever we build our system, it's just going to do that. So awesome, everything should work. All right, I think that's all we need to do for today. I know it's pretty fast for one of my videos, but yeah, let's go ahead and put everything together now. And yeah, so grab our inventory window. We're going to add our inventory, our dynamic inventory display here. We need to create a tester object, so we're going to create a empty game object. We're going to call this our tester. We're going to reset the position. It doesn't really matter. We're going to add our inventory holder. This is our inventory holder. As you can see, we now have our items. If we press 1, open this up, as you can see, it has a list of items and stacks. For now, let's make this a list of 36 items. And currently, the items are equal to 0, so great. Let's grab our inventory holder, grab our tester, drop it on there. As for our slot prefab, go over to our prefabs, grab our inventory slot, drop it in there like so. We also want to make sure that this is a prefab in and of itself that is overridden, so override, apply all. Good. Okay, so we now have the inventory window set up, but we don't have a way of calling when to update our inventory display. So I created a class called GM Tester. This is just a class, okay? And it's not really that important. You could create yourself your own testing class and put it wherever you want to put it. And I'm simply going to call for our dynamic inventory display. So public inventory display, we're going to call it display. We're going to make a private bool called is open. Say void update, and then we say if input.get key, and as you can tell, I'm using the legacy system, keycode.tab. We're going to say is open is equal to not is open, and then we're going to then set display dot on display, and we're going to set it equal to is open. Like so. All right, so head back over here, and we're going to add that to our tester, and everything should be working and running perfectly. If it's not, oh, it's going to suck, but it should be. So add our GM tester here, grab our inventory window, drop it there, hit play. And currently we should have 32 slots, or 36, 32, whatever I put as our inventory list. So if I hit tab, as you can see, we now have an update. If I change the size, 32, as you can see, drop it down to 8. As you can see, it does that. Perfect. So everything is working the way we want it to. Let's drop it down to 1. Good. But we also need to make sure that it is updating, say for instance, our items. So let's go over to here. We're going to set this equal to 3 just so we can visually see things. Go over to our RPG editor, inventory, create a folder, call it scriptable objects. We're going to go inside there. Create a RPG editor inventory. Oh my goodness, look at this. Look at that. Hold on, I need to fix that. That's gonna bother me. We're gonna go over here. Inventory, not E. There we go. My God, that was terrible, guys. That was terrible. Okay, so anyway, we're gonna right click inside here. We're gonna create our inventory item, and then we're gonna make sure that it assigns the value. So, right click, create RPG editor inventory new item. Call this example 1. Hit Control D, get another one. So example 1 is going to use this. Example 2 is going to use this. Select our tester. So let's say 0 is going to be equal to 0. 1 is going to be equal to example 1. We're going to set its value equal to 1, which means it shouldn't display a number. And we're going to set this value equal to 64, and we're going to make this example 2. Hit Control S, hit play, and we should have 3 items whenever we press the tab key. One of them should be nothing, one of them should be example 1, and one of them should be example 2. So here we go. We hit tab, and as you can see, we have 1, 2, and 3. Perfect. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, check out some of my other videos. If you have any questions or things that you want to add to this inventory system, leave those inside the comment section below, and I'll be happy to get to those as soon as possible. The next video is going to be about updating the inventory in and of itself, so stay tuned for that. Alright, I'll see you guys later. Bye.